Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now, on this channel before, we have gotten a little bit into one of the big hobbies that I'm into, which is photography. So I just kind of wanted to do a video speaking about some news in regards to photography, particularly Canon, because that's what I shoot. For those who might be interested, if this is not your video, then I totally understand in regards to what we normally have on the channel. So as I mentioned before, I'm really big into photography. I've been doing it for a long time. Photography at a certain point kind of dived into videography, if you want to call it that, because of the Canon 5D Mark II really was what kind of cemented that direction for video in smaller form factors, larger sensors, things of that sort, which I had shown on the channel before. And ever since that point in time, even coming into the space of YouTube, I actually did a video before talking about, people getting into YouTube and this and that. So this kind of goes hand in hand with that, as far as people having easy ways to do video content, which then branched off into, once you had this kind of more kind of affordable ways of people getting into video, good high quality video, you kind of opened up this realm of people doing short form videos, cinema videos, things of that sort. Including a lot of these cameras, not what you see in front of you, because I am using a dated system at this point now. Canon has left this system as far as their EF line and in their digital SLRs in favor of mirrorless. But all these type of cameras from other brands, Sony, Canon, Nikon, have gotten to the point, Blackmagic, Red, where they now make a lot of cinema cameras in which Netflix will approve them for people to do their own kind of little, videos and whatnot like that. So yes, that's a little just kind of rundown basics of the situation. But when this video, what we're talking about is, if you guys are into cameras, and I love doing a lot of research on cameras and photography and stuff like that, and anything within that realm, so Canon had released a camera just a couple of months ago, maybe about 4-5 months ago now, called the C50. It is their cinema camera. Their lineup of cinema cameras right now, at least currently, starting from 2024 and on, because anything before that is kind of dated now, even though it still exists. But you have the C400 is their top of the line. Their C80 is next in line. And then their C50 was just released, which has the same sensor. It's open gate 7K sensor, which same sensor that is in the R6 Mark III. That's like the predecessor line to this, because this is a 6D Mark II, and the 5D line's predecessor now is the R5 line. So the R6 line, being that it was one of their latest cameras to drop, has the same sensor as the C50, and now they say they're going to be releasing a R6V. Now, little note, one of their smaller crop cameras, the R50, had a V line R50V, which was video centric. It pretty much takes a small little body that's like that big or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it's more square form fitted body. I'll try to throw a picture of that in here somewhere so you guys can see what that looks like. And I'll try to also throw a picture in here of the C50 as well. So you get an idea of what that form factor looks like. And this has kind of been known as like the box form factor, for lack of a better word. A lot of camera brands have been doing this. It's like the idea of, you have this kind of small little frame that you build up, you add attachments to, whatever the case is, to get it kind of more bulked out. It's made for you to kind of build it up and rig it up, similar to how a person would have a camera cage on like a camera like this as well. That's kind of been going on since the time of the 5D Mark II. But what I wanted to get into was, where does that fall into a place for that, for people who are getting into that? The reason why I say that is because the video line, people think that the R50V, we'll speak on that one because that one's been out for a while now, over like a year. It was the first one of the V line. It's supposed to be video. Now, Canon has always added C at the end of a lot of their cameras, calling them the cinema line. So not just the ones I mentioned where you have cinema, the C in front of it stood for cinema line, but there was a R5C, which was like denoting hey, this is the cinema version of the camera body, photo camera designed body, mirrorless body, but giving it the C meant it was cinema. They did that with I don't know if they did that with one of the 5D lines. I can't remember, but I know they did it with one of the 1D lines, if I'm not mistaken, early on. This is when you had the digital SLR bodies and they did that. So that was a trend they've been doing for a long time. They had like I said, maybe a couple of years ago, not too many years ago, maybe about, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe. There was the 5, and I could be wrong in terms of my dates, but the 5RC, like I just mentioned, was the latest of that. And that usually carries with it a lot more of like a cinema based, like menus and design and whatnot. I think for one, that line is going to fade away to a degree and now be replaced by the V line when it is not a cinema body, which is like the square box design, like the photos I would have already posted up, as well as the fact that not only is it replacing that kind of C line, but the V line, but also like the V line, people say that it means like video or it means vlogger. It could be interchangeable, but the idea is more for like content creators and things that people who are on the run, not so much people who are doing large projects, like possibly movie projects, things you might put on, like Netflix or things of that sort. Like you can use it to do your own kind of cinema projects, but especially if you're good with things like color grading and this and that. But at the same time, those are not the cameras that are going to probably be approved for, like, say, Netflix. And Netflix is almost becoming like a bar because they have a standard of what they approve in terms of camera equipment. You can loosely say that's becoming almost like this kind of bar that's put out there because no other really, how should I say, no company, there's no standard being made towards what the bar is. Because anyone could just, if you have a camera that you could make a cinematic movie on, you could just make it. Especially if you could do it on your phone. Your phones today record 4K, 8K. You could do that. But some of them record RAW. You could do that. But the thing about it is that standard of what's considered like, this kind of invisible bar. The only one who set that bar is Netflix. And I think that's kind of becoming the bar that kind of goes across the board. Even though Netflix is not the ruler of all things, it's kind of starting to become across the board where that's the bar. And so I say that to say their V line is probably not going to be something that gets over that bar, while their C line, cinema lines do, where you have the C in front of the letter, in front of the number, or in the past you had the C after the number, denoting the photo type bodies, or hybrid bodies as they call them now, having cinema qualities. So where does this stand for the R6V? So the R, and I'm going to try to go off the top of my head with this as far as the price is, because I know I've seen it before, but I don't have it exactly written down right now. The C50 goes for, and this is the lowest of Canon's cinema line, goes for roughly about $3,500. This is without a lens. The R6 Mark III goes for about $2,700. People suspect that the similar way that the R50 is more expensive than the R50V, because you don't have a viewfinder, you don't have a few other things. It's not like a hybrid design as much. You could take photos with it, but it's not geared for that. That the R6V will be cheaper than the R6 Mark III, which, if that's $2,700, let's assume that maybe the R6V would be maybe $2,500, maybe, give or take, maybe $2,400, which is not bad to have it a bit cheaper if you are just focusing on video. The issue that I kind of wonder or question about is, at that point, and I hear things that say it's not going to have the same sensor as in the R6 Mark III, but that it's going to have instead of having a 7K open gate sensor, it's going to have a 6K open gate sensor. That's what I heard. I don't know if this is true or not, but in some ways they're going to have to water it down, because otherwise, if you give it the same sensor and if you give it the same features that are in the R50V, this like almost will become like the bigger brother or the full frame version of the R50V, the R6V. then essentially you're giving it a video menu setup. You're giving it mounting points for the tripod on like the side and underneath it, because that's how the R50V did. Obviously the flip out screen, everything is geared towards video. And if you have that same sensor, what you're doing is you're kind of cannibalizing the C50, which is, you could say, because the sensor is the same as the R6 Mark III, it is the cinema version of the R6 Mark III, the C50. So at that point, it kind of really begs the question, like, if you do this, you're really stepping on the toes of the C50. I mean, yeah, on the C50, unless you're going to water it down a whole bunch. And at that point, if you start watering it down from that way, on things where the R50V, for example, has a lot of great features, but it's only like a $600 camera. But all the features it has are great for cinema, aside from the fact that obviously it's a cheaper priced camera. So you don't have, say, internal RAW. You got, you have 4K, you have a form of C-Log 3, but you don't have RAW. Granted, somebody within that field paying that much money, $600, may not necessarily need RAW. You can still do color grading. My point is, at the price of where the R6V would be, what are they gonna do to water it down so it doesn't cannibalize the C50 sales, yet still make it feel like it's a cinema camera? It's almost like you can't take anything away from it for it to make sense. You can't take away anything from it that the R6 Mark III has. You automatically can't do that. So it has to have RAW. It has to have open gate. Realistically, I don't even see why you would even have a lower sensor, because if it's a lower sensor, people just then say, well, I want the R6 Mark III. And even though a person might say, well, it's got all these video features designated for video, so that will justify it having a little bit lower specs, but you're getting the bonus of video. But that's not true. Having the hybrid form, being more of a SLR design, mirrorless design, camera type of design, like for photos, like that type of hybrid design, is better. It's considered a step up than a cinema, not a cinema camera, but a video camera. We're going to say we're going to differentiate from the V versus the C. A video camera, dedicated video camera, it's better than that. Why? Because similar to the R50V versus the R50 has a viewfinder. The R50 has good photo features. The video features, some of them are lacking only in the aspect really of button layout. The R50 has button layouts that are not necessarily geared towards video, where the R50V has like a front button, like on the front, like it's almost like a shape similar to this, but bigger. And you have like a button right here to press for recording if you want to record yourself with the flip out screen, this and that. But overall, it's seen as you're getting less features overall because it's not as much of a hybrid in that regard. With that same mentality, the R6V should not have, it should be cheaper, and it should still have all the same video qualities as the R6 Mark III. So just curious, what are your thoughts? You guys can post down below in the comments what's going to happen there. I think it's going to get a little tricky. Now, some people say that they're doing this because of the fact that there's so many other brands out there like Sony or whatever, that they are just pushing out so many different cameras that they're flooding the markets, regardless of whether they cannibalize some of their larger sales or like larger cameras or smaller cameras. And I can see where people would say, well, Canon has to compete, so it doesn't matter if they step on their own toes. And I get that. And there's a lot of companies who do stuff like that too. They'll put out something, they're like, we don't care if it steps on the toes of our other ones. It just gives you guys more options. If they're doing that, then it's just a straight win. But I don't know if I see it being that way. Post down below what your guys' thoughts are. I just wanted to do a video on that because, you know, it's something that online I might be interested in getting, or as I spoke to you guys one time before about running a channel on YouTube. I had spoken to that from a business standpoint. That might be something you guys are into when it comes to the idea of looking for new gear or things of that sort. And because, like I said before, there's a hobby of mine that I really find interesting. As always, you guys, like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.